Hello, and welcome to My Point of View Movie Review. Yo, you know what time it is? Back in time for retro time. 007, Roger Moore. Now in 1973, this was Roger Moore's first attempt at playing James Bond, the famous 007's agent. Live and Let Die. This movie is very special to me. It is my all-time second favorite behind Octopussy James Bond movie. Now, this is a unique movie because the villains are black. And this is one of the first times that my whole family that I knew of, uncles, my father and mom, was all rooting for the villain because these black guys are charismatic in this movie, man. This movie has it all. This is during the time when blaxploitation was at its height, and it is so entertaining. Look, these brothers are calling James Bond honky. They talk to him. They don't call him by his name. Say, Jim, just sit back, relax, man. I'm gonna take you to see Mr. Big. All right, Jim, how you doing? His name ain't Jim, it's James. But back in the day, the black people referred to white people as honkies, Jim, or Jack. Watch 48 Hours. Say, Jack. That just happened to be his name when Eddie Murphy was clowning his ass. But this movie here, the plot is real simple. The brothers was dealing cocaine, and they was transported from the Caribbean all the way to New York and also in Louisiana. So this movie had 4 special locations. The first one was New York. Then you had Louisiana, then you had the Caribbean, and also you had England, where James Bond's agency is from. This movie is so colorful and so entertaining. I never seen so many Cadillacs in one movie. Like I said, there was a henchman working for Mr. Big. This dude was big and fat. His name was Whisper because he talked like this. Hey, I'm gonna get you, James Bond, brother. You dead meat, brother. That's how this dude talked. And Mr. Big actually played 2 different characters. He would change his face and makeup to act like he was 3 or 2 different people. Very, very colorful, very, very interesting. Well, James Bond, for his first time out as Roger Moore playing James Bond, very charismatic, very debonair, and very smooth. And the stunts in this movie, there's a chase scene with a helicopter, with an airplane and 2 cars on the ground. So entertaining. There's also another scene where this Cadillac pulls up next to James Bond's taxi, shoots a dart out from the side view mirror into the driver's neck, and he falls to his death. And James Bond's in the back seat, had to grab the wheel and drive to his safety. Really cool practical stunts and effects in this movie. But probably the best action scene in this movie involves speedboats. These boats are going from water to land, and you got the cops chasing them throughout this whole scene, and it is so gravitating and it pulls you right in. And this means the first taste of the big old fat dude who also was in The Spy, not The Spy Who Loved Me, but he was also in The Man with the Golden Gun. He's actually a cop and a sheriff in Louisiana, and they brought his character over to the next movie, The Man with the Golden Gun. He was fat, he was very southern, every other word was, go get that man, boy! Chewing his mouth. Dude is disgusting, but very, very funny. He actually had a cousin named Billy Bob. I told you, this is black doing blaxploitation movies was at its best. Now, the James Bond girls in this movie are beautiful. There was a double agent who worked for the CIA. She was a sister girl, and man, she was gorgeous. Yes, James got some of that. And then Jane Seymour played a character called Solitaire. She used tarot cards to tell the future of what was going to happen, and she worked for the bad guys. But you know, James snuck in there and got some of that and pulled her to his side and took it home with him. This movie is so funny. And in the very beginning, when you first meet James Bond, he had a couple of colleagues come over to his house, and and he actually has a Russian counterpart in bed with him. So James was sleeping with everybody. Like I said, Roger Moore always got a taste of that ass in all of his movies. And the opening song for this movie is personally my favorite James Bond theme of all time. Paul McCartney and his wife at the time did the theme song Live and Let Die. And you know Paul McCartney's from the Beatles, and this song is so iconic with the music. It was very rapid, then it slows down. Why don't you give it a cry? Live and let die. That song is so iconic. When I hear it to this very day, I still lose my mind. But this movie was before its time, and have an all-black cast like that played the villain and all these exotic locations. Man, this movie was so entertaining and so fun. And the dialect, I mean, you thought you was watching Shaft the way all the brothers and sisters talk in this movie. You know, you heard jive talk, turkey, honky, get that dude. This movie is entertaining. Probably the worst killing I've ever seen in a James Bond movie as far as a villain. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it, but it's the most ridiculous special effect probably in James Bond history. It is hilarious. And there's one practical stunt that I'll never forget. Mr. Big and his henchmen got a hold of James Bond, had him tied up. They put him on this little miniature island full of alligators. They came out there feeding the alligators fresh meat. And then the bridge coming out to the little island started to retract. And they left James Bond out there by himself. Dude, I don't know how he was going to escape. The alligators and crocodiles started getting closer and closer to this island. This thing was only about 10 feet by 10 feet. He didn't have much room. There's a scene where James Bond ran across the alligators' heads as their mouths were opening up. Ran across to the other island. One of the best practical effects and scenes of action in James Bond Roger Moore history. It was fan-freaking-tastic. Give this movie a try. Live and Let Die. Love this flick. My second favorite of all time in the James Bond series. And, you know, Roger Moore, he was a star after this movie. He went on to do 6 more movies after this. This was the one that started it all for the great, late, great Roger Moore. I miss you, dude. Till this very day, you're my favorite James Bond of all time. Give it a try. Like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments down low. And when you get a chance, check out Live and Let Die. Roger Moore as 007. You won't be disappointed. Until next time, yo, it's just my point of view. Now, earlier I mentioned Mr. Big has some henchmen, and one of them was named Whisper. There was another dude whose arm got bit off by an alligator. So he had a mechanical arm with a hook. Man, this dude would go around chopping off people's fingers and killing people. There's some fight scenes with him and James Bond on a train that you would never forget. They had some colorful henchmen in this movie. There was another guy who was a voodoo priestess. He would go around and put spells on people, and he was a really creepy guy. He had this crazy laugh. That's how the dude laughed. But there's a scene in the movie where James Bond had to fight him. They brought this casket out full of snakes. They used these snakes for their victims when they wanted to sacrifice them, right? Oh my God. James Bond got loose and started fighting this guy. He kicked him, hit him in the stomach, and threw his ass in that coffin full of snakes. Acting was kind of bad back then, so the dude over-exaggerated. He went into the coffin and the snake was like, and died. It looked like he was fucking the snakes instead of getting bit by the motherfuckers. It was hilarious. Hey, acting isn't everything.